Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of Bye, a weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, in which I build right and prepare for our next session. Call from the Deep for playing characters. Got one Max tutorial. Stream is not meant for you. It'll be full of spoilers, especially because we're talking about the final countdown now. Stream our sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. My stupid players made it a little bit further than we thought. On last Friday's session, we pretty much wrapped up the Illithid Dome. We'll give them a little bit of prep time, but otherwise, we're basically headed to the final battle. And unfortunately, there's kind of the least amount of information for this area. Like, there's not really a good final battle army present. I'm kind of on my own here. The whole area, which is a giant map, which we messed with a couple crafting sessions ago, has mostly Marrow in there. Triton champions, some Sahuagin raiders, a little bit of Kraken priests, I guess, Sahuagin Baron. So I'm using all of those in here, but they're spread out amongst this huge kind of dungeon-sized overland battle area, and that's not what I want to do here. I said I want to make a nice, tight, like classic arena boss battle. So to do that, we cut the map up and made it smaller, and we're also going to make it a dynamic war zone by having the Tritons attacking the Kraken at the same time, taking a crack at the Kraken, which is going to allow us to use a table, which I think we already put together. What did we call that table? Crap. These aren't actually in order of when I put them in there, is it? Probably like Kraken battle is what I would do. Except I didn't put it in there. Oh boy, I thought I put this one in here. The hell would I put it? Let's see if it's down. Yeah, Kraken battle is what this one's called. Maybe I didn't actually make a macro for it yet. That's possible. Or yeah, a macro for it. I got the table for it though. Okay. So the table is here, which we've got 5 things present, which is going to allow us to roll basically just every turn, because I've had a lot of success with this for my party, which is rolling these kind of chaos tables that add to the craziness of the battle. But I need to figure out how to balance and provide a fun big boss fight for the party. They are technically not long rested going into this fight, but they're looking pretty good for the most part, and I just gave them a bunch of like really powerful healing potions they can take, so that should give them some juice, literally. And our wizard has an entire mech suit of armor she can fly around in and just punch people or whatever she needs to do. So I probably need to increase the number of enemies on here for starters, because we've seen the party be able to take these guys out pretty quickly. I could always add reinforcements. In fact, I could even add that as a table here, but that might make it a little too random to add reinforcements. What I could always do to make a D6 table is just have one of these be weighted twice as much as the others if I want it to appear slightly more often than the others also. So right now there's 5 different entries, but I could play around with that and make it so some of the entries are a little bit more rare than others, if that's worth doing. Right now I've got the Kraken thunderous voice thing that the Kraken priest can do. All enemies must succeed a DC 14 or be frightened to the end of their next turn. Thunderbolt, a random player gets struck by a Thunderbolt attack. That only affects one person though, as opposed to a lot of these, which is AoEs. Strong current, each enemy within 60 feet of the Kraken must succeed on DC 23. Strength save or be pushed up to 60 feet away, which is pretty big. Electric current, all enemies of the Kraken within 120 feet must succeed on DC 23 con save, taking 3d6 lightning damage. Fail or half damage success. And then Harpoon, a random player, I guess it's the other one else, only one of them, is hit by a Harpoon from a Marrow. In other words, I just rolled the attack roll from the Marrow. If it hits, make a DC 14 strength save, be yanked 20 feet in a random direction. That's what I've got so far. I kind of want them all to be bad in terms of detrimental to the party. So I don't know if I want to include any that would be like you know, a random Triton cheers you on and you get inspiration or something. Because I do want to have these all be like a pretty challenging thing to have appear. Otherwise, I guess it'd just be another random attack roll that got somebody, or so you've already got like strong currents. I can look and see what the Kraken can do. I don't remember if I did this also. Did I pull up the 2024 Kraken? See what it's capable of? If there's any big differences. It looks cool. The art in the new Monster Manual is fantastic. Raged Kraken. Gets control weather. All beasts have the charmed condition in the water. Ocean Tyrant. So I could put a bunch of... What kind of water beast would even be worth putting in a boss battle? That could go with the enemies that I've got. I don't know if anything would be like strong enough to bother worth using. I did like how they jacked up all the legendary resistances, though. It's pretty amazing. Just a baseline 4 per day for your big buns, and then 5 per day if they're in their lair. Tentacle attacks, fling, and lightning strike. I think that's all the same as this one, right? Let's see. Actually, the Kraken has a bite attack instead of a... I guess bite is part of its swallow. Oh yeah, okay, so they just had it be... Makes 2 tentacles, just fling, lightning strike, or swallow. Swallow can only attack creature grappled by the Kraken, and then it does do damage and then swallows them. Okay, so that's probably... Oh, so maybe that's actually a bit of a nerf. So in this case, they can bite and swallow you in one attack. Okay, it's not baked into its multi-attack, though. It makes 3 tentacle attacks, one of which can replace these. So bite's not included in its multi-attack at all, whereas it can be included in the new one. Because you're going to do 2 tentacle attacks and then use one of its other things. So that's multi-attack's a lot better, which is another thing that they did a lot better in the Monster Manuals. They baked in a lot of the various abilities that monsters have and just allow you to kind of replace them as you want within their multi-attack instead of having to like pick and choose. With the exception of things like Dragon's Breath on a dragon, they still can only do that if they're going to do that for their action. But for any other kind of attacks, it's usually part of their multi-attack. So I may include that here. But we're also probably not really using the Kraken stat block too much, because I think it'll be making saves and probably trying to resist the control from the Elder Brain, and we'll be relying on the table, and then on the... do I have the Elder Brain roll initiatives separately? That's a good question that I asked myself. Because we just did that with the like mech suit battle, and I thought that worked pretty well. But maybe that would help, because then Zelix 4 would still have his action, even though he's trying to basically assert control of Slarkathor. Maybe that's more like a concentration thing that he's doing, because I do want the boss to be able to do something. We could use Zelix 4's legendary actions also. Although that's... Alright, let's see what the new Elder Brain looks like. Has that one been changed? I don't think there is a new Elder Brain, actually, now that I think about it. I think there's only the Mind Flayers, yeah. Well, is this the one from Mordenkainen's? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Well, that might be better already. The bonus action is a Psychic Link rather than an action. But it does have to target an incapacitated creature. Charisma save. Target takes 3d6 psychic damage if it uses its action to break the link. So it's thoughts, and then... So in other words, it would have to basically get its Mind Blast off first. And then as a bonus action, it can do a Psychic Link on somebody, because they have to be incapacitated. And then on legendary actions, it can then manipulate creatures with a psychic link. That's all it really can do. Elder Brain's a weird stat block. I guess the Mind Blast is still really good, but I think they also, in the new 2024 book, they, for the most part, get rid of the if you save, nothing happens effects. Most of the time now, including the new Mind Flare in the 2024 book, if you make the save, you're still taking half damage. You're just obviously not being stunned. Creatures of the Elder Brain's choice within 60 feet must succeed a DC 18 intelligence save. So yeah, that's another big question: is do I actually run the Elder Brain as a separate stat block? Does it have any clues as to me doing that? Let's see, Kraken and Elder Brain coming Thursdays to NBC. Just says, in full control of Starkethel, can use the Kraken's actions in place of its own. Can use the Kraken speed and features, including spellcasting. So that makes it sound like on its turn, it's operating the Kraken. And yet, because the bummer I'm thinking is that I nerf it too hard, and if I have, well, maybe that's the answer then. If the Kraken makes the, so maybe on Zelix 4's turn, which I guess I'm using the Kraken's maybe initiative because it's kind of the physical Kraken's a thing. And then when the Kraken starts its turn, I make the Wisdom save, which it's almost guaranteed to make, I think, with its plus. I mean, if the Elder Brain's got, what is it, DC 18, I think? Yeah. A DC 18, and Slarkerthel has a plus 11 to Wisdom. So that's not quite a gimme, actually. It's got to roll a 7 or better to make the save. If it fails the save, then the Elder Brain gets to straight up use the Kraken's full stat block that round, which would be devastating because it's pretty nasty. But I'm thinking about using the 2024 effects and just saying the Kraken makes 2 tentacle attacks and then uses one of its abilities. So let's actually make that change. I think that's a much better improvement. Kraken makes 2 tentacle attacks and uses fling. Strike. I'll just leave it called bite. That's fine, because I think it's the exact same thing. Technically, they have to be grappled by the. It can only target somebody with a bite if they're grappled by the Kraken, and then it swallows them and dealing damage along the way. So effectively, they just renamed it. They also renamed Lightning Storm to Lightning Strike. And had it do... Okay, this is also different. That's right. This is one creature takes 6d10 lightning damage, and this one is 3 bolts of lightning that do 4d10 lightning damage. So maybe I should try making that change as well. Mainly because this is part of its multi-attack now, so it can do it as part of its multi-attack. So that is a one creature that Kraken can see within 120 feet of it. Creates a bolt of lightning. Strikes a target. Kraken can see within 120 feet of target. Must make a DC 23 dex save, taking 6d10 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Okay. Kind of updating the stat block with the 2024 rules here. Even without spellcasting, which I don't know. I think it's actually more fun without spellcasting, because it annoys me that a lot of creatures fall back on spellcasting. And it looks like the new Kraken, in fact, doesn't have any spellcasting at all, so Wizards of the Coast agrees with me. Whereas this one has all the kind of shit, has foresight and all that crazy stuff. Chain lightning. And I don't want to cast a bunch of spells, frankly. I just want to use like tentacles and fling people around and shoot them with lightning bolts, which is not a spell. You see within 120 feet of it for a lightning strike. Although I guess, I don't know if you'd be able to counterspell it or not. It says magically creates a bolt of lightning, but that one, it doesn't say magically creates a bolt of lightning. This one just says you're zapping them with lightning, so. Legendary actions are just use lightning strike or toxic ink. So we're gonna get, and by the way, no legendary actions in the new one cost more than one legendary action, which I'm also thankful for. And in the layer, they get additional legendary actions, which technically this one would be. I'll give you 4 per day, although I don't think it's going to matter. Actually, you know what? He's probably out of legendary resistance. That might be something that... Because obviously he would use it to, make his saves against the wisdom save. So that's also interesting balancing. And if the players wanted to throw spells at Slarkrethel, I guess, which thankfully my players don't have, like, Wall of Force bullshit shenanigans, so... If you want to run the Elder Brain and Kraken separately, you can allow Toril to use his action to make a high DC check, like the Kraken use its own action that round. I am very open to Toril having those kind of suggestions, and then anything that... And maybe if Toril makes a check, like probably a religion check, honestly, then that would maybe give advantage to Slarkrethel with the save. What is toxic ink? Each creature 15 foot from the Kraken was underwater. Just gives them blinded and poisoned conditions till the end of the Kraken's next turn. Kraken then moves up to its speed. Okay, and then this one is one or the Kraken spells an ink cloud radius. Cloud spells around corners. Every time obscured. DC 23 ends its turn there for 3d10 poison. That actually does damage. Strong current disperses the crowd. Yeah, we're doing currents the whole time. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and just replace it with this one because I think that one's cooler. But I'm gonna keep it with the I don't know why we didn't get the tentacle attack as legendary action actually. So it's just supposed to use its Stormbolt constantly. That's pretty devastating because the lightning strike is really strong. And it's worse than a tentacle, although tentacle does restrain you. I assume it still restrains you. All right, click on that one. Let's see. It's actually hard to copy and paste this, isn't it? Because it's not in all the description. It's got other stuff in there. It's each creature underwater. Actually, let's just call this, each creature have 15-foot emanation originating from the Kraken. Let's see, AC 23, con, saving throw. Or have the blinded and poisoned conditions to the end of the Kraken next turn. The Kraken moves with speed. So I assume if you make the success, then nothing actually happens. Call it Toxic Ink Cloud. I just eaten by random fish. You've been nipped by quippers. I was thinking about a tentacle attack, but if I leave that as part of the legendary actions, then I'll probably be doing a lot of tentacle attacks. I am thinking... So I think for maximum balance, we only run one stat block for Slarkrethel and the Elder Brain. And then at the start of its turn, which I'll probably use Slarkrethel's actual initiative. At the start of the Kraken's turn, it'll try to make the Wisdom save. I think I'll do it at the start of the turn, even though a lot of the saves should be at the end of the turn, shouldn't they? I guess I could give them 1 round. So I could say that it basically made the save last time. So if it makes the save at the end of its turn, then it essentially gives itself like this stunned condition temporarily. As it maybe has this like mental battle against Zelix 4. Because I don't think I would allow it to do anything else. Basically, it would just not do anything, which is a huge boon for the party if that's what happens. But even if it does that, so if it does that, then I would probably let the Elder Brain be able to take one of its own actions on its character sheet instead, although it wouldn't be able to use its own tentacles. So it doesn't have great options. Basically, the only thing it can really do is its Mind Blast, which Mind Blast is still devastating, but it's kind of annoying to just keep doing that to the party. I mean, it's as far as I'm aware, its whole stat block is basically Mind Blast, try to incapacitate people by stunning them, and then it looks like you can actually bonus action apply a Psychic Link, which is not even a save or anything. It just happens as long as they're incapacitated. And then once they're incapacitated with Psychic, or once they're affected by Psychic Link, then it can actually use its legendary actions to do things. But then I don't know, do I run its legendary actions? And because my also thought process was, even regardless of whether the Kraken makes the save or not, I would allow Zelix 4 to still control the Kraken's legendary actions. And I think that might be a better way of allowing the Kraken to be powerful and be scary and affect the party, but not have it at full strength necessarily. So I guess the only bummer is if it makes the save and it stuns itself, then do I allow Zelix 4 to do something on its turn? The only bummer is its stat block is really limited to like Mind Blasting, which is still really strong, 60 feet, but would potentially hit all of its own allies. So maybe Zelix 4 doesn't actually do anything, and it's just a boon for the party. Like you just skip that whole turn, which would feel weird to have the whole boss not take a turn, right? But like I said, my thought process is whether it succeeds or fails, I would still allow Zelix 4 to operate its the Kraken's legendary actions, which I could even do 4 if I wanted to, with the 2024 rules saying it can take 4 in its lair. It doesn't actually say it on here, does it? I think if you scroll up, there we go. Legendary action use, it gets 4 in its lair. So I could even use 4 of those, which is a lot. I mean, essentially gets to use some combination of tentacle attacks, flings, lightning storm, or its ink cloud multiple times during the round. Lightning storm being that big, like 60, 10, what is that, about 30 damage with a DC 23 deck save. So I think it's still pretty powerful, and if it fails the save, then suddenly not only do I also do that, but now I get to run Slarkarthel's actual stat block that round, which includes 2 tentacle attacks and either another lightning strike or probably trying to swallow somebody. Is that how Crown of Madness works? I'm basically, mechanically, it's always some DM bullshit behind the scenes, and it doesn't necessarily say in the book, I guess, like how to run this section. I'm kind of just having to come up with all this. The only thing it says is if about to be killed, it'll teleport away, which I will do. It just says it can't use its tentacles while grafted on a Slarkarthel. The Elder Brain maintains its own features and actions, but it can use the Kraken's actions in place of its own. So I guess in that case, I would be able to run the Elder Brain. So that part does appear to back me up. So if Slarkarthel makes, and again, all that Slarkarthel making the save thing, that's also just me coming up with that shit, like trying to balance this out a little bit. I don't think the Ruin section says anything about that either. I really need like an organized tab thing. This is I'm always just like firing tabs off somewhere, hanging out in random places on my map. There's really nothing else about. I mean, it does mention them both here, obviously, but that's it. And then in terms of allies and stuff, retreat, which we'll get to in a second. Yeah. So yeah, that's this. This is probably one of the more challenging in-game boss fights I've had to do because there's so little information about how to run it, and because I think I mentioned this before, but I'm trying not to have the party be artificially enhanced to take on a big bad. Instead, it's been part of their final dungeon quest is to weaken the big bad enough for them to be able to take it. And I'm going to reflect that weakness by having Sarkarthel be able to cast or be able to roll wisdom saves every round. And yes, if Toril thinks to like commune with his god or say anything, I can have him roll like a religion check. Probably the same DC 18, I think. What is Toril's religion? It's got to be good, right? I could even give Toril advantage on it because this is what he's all about. His religion's only a +4. I feel like his role playing does not back that up. Maybe I'd let him make a persuasion check. Although it's weird to have to just persuade your god to like do it better. Man, he's got positive. Does he have like Jack of all trades or something? Not proficient, but he's got like good fucking. Why does he have such good stats on all his skills? He only has a +1 intelligence, +1 strength. I don't know. Someone's giving him like a +1 on everything. Interesting. Yeah, he's only got +4. So I was thinking maybe give him a DC 18 religion check in order to give Slarkarthel advantage on that wisdom save, for example. But that should be meaningful. That'll be a big deal, whether he can use his full stat block or not. But I think being able to have him use his legendary actions, which is not my forte. I'm not great at using legendary actions. But I think if it's part of making a boss fight feel a little nastier, then I think we could certainly do that. I could also technically flavor if I'm feeling the party's getting really ripped up that it could use like Lightning Storm on a random Triton or something, or one of their Triton allies. Of course, they're going to have allies themselves, and the other big thing I need to figure out is how many bad guys to put in here, because they've got, with them, Vestris and Kazan, and between you and me, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with Kazan. I don't even have a stat block, character sheet for him yet. And it was not my intention to run a DMPC during this last fight. I have no interest in doing that. I've got enough going on with all the monsters and stuff, so I could have, like, I don't know, him just go back up the Tritons and help them fight back just to get him out of the way. And honestly, I'd like to do it with Vestris too, but it would be really weird for them to work together. Because Kazan would really hate the Kraken Society, and that's kind of Vestris is like Kraken Society adjacent. I don't think I made her a full blown. I think she just kind of like works there. I don't quite know the relationship there, I guess, yeah. Religion check using charisma. That's true. You don't believe in religion. He doesn't quite understand. That never happens. There you go. But yeah, religion using charisma actually is probably appropriate because it would be. It's not necessarily the knowledge you have. It's like the passion you have for that religion, I think. Yeah, I probably will. I'm debating on whether to use 4 legendary actions actually, Demnix, because the 2024 rulebook says if they're in their layer, jack up those legendary actions to 4. And also more legendary resistance. But I probably won't actually be able to give him any legendary resistance because of the way he's using saves right now. I don't know if the Elder Brain should have any legendary resistance. It does say it has 3 per day. Okay, never mind. We'll do 3 per day. We'll let you have your legendaries. And I will, at Vestris especially, will straight up say, like, hey, we need to target the Elder Brain. The Elder Brain has magic resistance, legendary resistance, which will help. It can't use its tentacles while it's grafted, unfortunately. So it's just a weird thing where all it can do is it's Mind Blast attack. I guess I could give him different attacks. I don't know, the whole Psychic Link thing just isn't very exciting. You have to Mind Blast people with the action, which I can only get on a recharge 5 to 6 if I'm running this correctly. And it's a huge area though. I mean, DC 18 intelligence save was 60 feet. It's not even a cone. I didn't realize it's not a cone like Mind Blast. It's just creatures of the Elderbrain's choice within 60 feet. Damn. And then the target has to use an action to get rid of the Psychic Link, or it can use any one of its legendary actions. But I don't know if I'm going to use the Elderbrain's legendary actions anyway, because if it's using Slarkrathel's legendary actions, which I'd rather do than its legendary action. So maybe I don't even run the stat block at all, and then we worry about the Elderbrain during the actual final battle, which I. Is there a more interesting stat block we can run than the? What was that big fucking worm thing for Mind Flayers? Neothalid or something, or there's an Ultralid. God, can I just? How do I look up like Mind Flayer as a category? I think I can. I don't think the 2024 book has. It just has the straight up Mind Flayer. There might be like 2 options. Or is it just the one? Just because now I'm kind of bummed and about the Elderbrain set. And if that's supposed to be like the final boss, then like how interesting is that going to be to fight versus if it teleports back to its home? And I guess they'll be surrounded by a bunch of... I mean, I guess there's always a chance where I'm like, fuck it, this was actually the final battle. I don't want to do the second stage boss fight. I don't know. I feel like it's interesting to have the social thing come up and say, like, hey, do you all want to try to take out Slarkrathel while he's weakened? Or do you want to try to take out the Mind Flayer colony once and for all? More like a meat ballista for the party. Yeah. Range attack and a couple strong spells the party choose from. That's kind of cool. I'd run a Kazan as a party version of a legendary action is what Nate's saying. That is kind of cool. I'm trying to think what all we could incorporate that. I mean, we could also do that with Vestris too. And they just like fight over what it can do, or maybe have another table that rolls different things that the allies are doing. I am amenable to this. Amiable? Amenable? Why do I keep using Elderbrains at the end? Just not that interesting. But maybe that's the point. Like, once you make it to the Elderbrain, you can probably kick its ass. Also, once they deal enough damage, do I just have it be healed up for the second stage boss fight? Probably. Even though it's kind of bullshit. I've got it at 300 hit points right now. More than likely, once they take it down to probably 100 hit points remaining, I'll have it teleport away. And then when they fight it the second time, it will probably also be around 200 hit points. But we'll play with that a little bit, right? We'll see. Like, depending how fast or slow they need to be fighting it. I mean, yeah, they always try to get... These guys have the dossiers. They would definitely know, like, what to do. Sabra's inside of a mech suit right now, though, which makes her a little tricky. It also means she can't cast spells in there, though. So that would negate a big part of the party's power, for sure. What about minions? How do we feel about the minions here? I would like some creatures that I'm not running as just quick bullshit minions, but are actually, like, full stat blocks I'm hitting with the players, which is why I'm not trying to multiply them too much. I'm kind of ignoring these guys on the side here and assuming they're all locked in battle with the Tritons, so they're not really involved in the fight, I guess. Which is why I was just going to have, like, Kazan and Vestris kind of just fuck off and do it off screen, even though it's technically on. I don't know. I guess I have mixed feelings about having these tokens on the map because this is not meant for the party to actually fight these guys back and forth. I think I've played with that a little bit. where all kind of reflect like sides dying one side or the other, but having the tokens there, but not really expecting the party to necessarily involve themselves. Instead, I've got let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Marrow, 2 Deep Scions, 2 Kraken Priests, and a 100 hit point Sahuagin Baron Mutant Thrall standing in front of Slarkarthel. Second health bar. What if they would kill the Elder Brain before it escapes? Well, ultimately that's up to me, I guess, in terms of how many hit points it really has. What's funny is I've read some recaps of Call from the Deep that folks have, and they said that players were able to do that. Basically, they were like planning on having the retreat happen, and then they were able to just defeat the Elder Brain here and there. So, and honestly, I think I'm gonna have to think about that really hard this week and decide, like, is it worth having this second stage boss fight, even though this is probably the premier awesome, like, memorable boss fight that we're gonna have, which is a big underwater battle with a Kraken. And then to have the brain like teleport away, is that gonna feel anticlimactic versus having it be destroyed? And then you could, I guess the difference is it became, instead of having a choice between we gotta finish off the colony versus taking out the Kraken, then the moral choice at the end just becomes, do we take out the Kraken or not? And obviously Vestris would vote no, and Toril should vote no, but Kazan would vote yes. The Tritons would probably vote yes. So it just, I guess Borges would just vote with the party, the rest of the party. So then it just becomes a thing, and then the second stage boss fight could just be against Slarkarthel. If the party does decide to turn on him, maybe I would have him be stunned for like, I don't know, a round or two or something. And I would maybe have him be weakened. But yeah, there's also no guarantee they'd be able to actually finish him off. Versus going and battling the Elder Brain in the second. Do you want the... I always have to push PvP. I'm not the one that makes party members with such extreme differing views either. I'll just say that. but by God, I will exploit this. I don't know. Like, what's interesting about this team is none of them are very righteous. Surprise. So I don't think any of them, like, Kazan's probably the closest one to be like, no, of course we got to kill this guy, but he would be outnumbered, and I guess he would have to go along with them. He would realize that he doesn't have really a leg to stand on. But I mean, the party's made deals with every other creature, and considering they know Twirl and trust Twirl, then I don't know. It might just end up being a good RP moment. Instead of have the brain teleport and it sucks in the players onto the astral plane a la Bag of Holding style, they can rest and find the brain to kill in order to get home. That's true. That would make it... That would eliminate the chance for a social encounter between the battles. Is the only bummer about that. Because I was planning on having this big moment where the party has to basically contend with what to do about Slarkarthel. But maybe that's the wrong call. Maybe that would interrupt the pacing of the climax. And instead, yeah, we want to have them get sucked into the astral shift somehow, the plane shift. Or maybe it plane shifts away and Vestris says, like, I can follow its trail. You can go now. And it teleports the party to the astral retreat where they can fight the brain and take it out completely. Along with maybe a few other mind flayers. I guess I could look and see... I definitely want to use those brain golems again. What all was in the Elder Brain chambers? fact, was there anything supposed to be in here with him? It's 2 Mind Flayers, a Brain Golem, and 2 Swaggin Baron Thralls. I probably won't have any more of the underwater creatures. So we got 2 Mind Flayers, a Brain Golem, a 3rd Mind Flayer. Incomplete Flesh Golem. 2 more Brain Golems. That's 3 Brain Golems. A 4th Mind Flayer. Gladiator. Zelix 4. Oh, right. And Tharsorelli. Holy shit. I forgot. Well, it says Druskis here, but I never used the 4th attendant. So he's got to be there too. So we're going to have a mini boss. Like a mini boss Mind Flayer. And even more Brain Golems. Okay. Alright, I'm feeling a little better about this boss fight now, actually. Jeez, are we really going to give all these... They're going to fight like 6 different stat blocks, all with Mind Blast? That's crazy. I will probably not be using Mind Blast nearly that much. Gotta use Tharsorelli, though. So I did find a map from Seafoot Games. I'm still working on like the size of it and everything. I forgot what this is called, like Eternal Rest of the Damned or some cool name. But it's the Fractured Hand is supposed to be this floating like rock in space kind of a thing. It's supposed to be all these different rooms and stuff, but I'm not interested in doing all of this dungeony stuff. Like I just want literally like basically what we just did, right? It's just like the one room arena boss fight again. But this time, basically instead of fighting all the underwater creatures, now you're fighting all the fucking Mind Flayer creatures. Which will be, well, literal Mind Flayers, but plus these brain... Is that the Brain Golem? I think it's fucking huge. Oh, yeah. I think I replaced it with the Eater of Knowledge. Right, because we used... Yeah, that's right. We used this creature before as a mini-boss. Okay. And it can grapple and stun if it hits him with both attacks. I forgot if I gave it some. Initiative 20. The Brain Golem costs 1 of the following spells. One Pattern, Confusion, or Telekinesis. That's bananas. I don't know if I'll use that part. I might run a simpler version of the Brain Golem. It's also supposed to be large. I don't think it's supposed to be that big. It's that size. Alright, so we'll use one of those. I'll take one of those. Yeah, it mentions, or sorry, not Astral Plane. I think I misspoke. I think it's supposed to be Astral Sea, right? Oh, no, it does say the Astral Plane. My bad. Are those the same things, or are those 2 different things? Astral Plane is an alien place of swirling lights and the petrified corpses of dead gods. Don't age or suffer. Traveling astral plane. Oh, yeah, so it does sound like the Astral Sea. Move by simply thinking about moving. But distance has little meaning in the endless plane, and combat a creature's walking speed is equal to 3 times its intelligence score. Oh, Gottwald's going to hate this. Smarter a creature is, the easier it is to control its movement by an active will. Even if you're, like, on the ground, that's still... Those rules still come into play? Actually, if you have a 10 intelligence, you have a normal 30-foot walk speed then, don't you? 3 times intelligence score. It just means if you're a little smarter, you can move a little faster. If you want to increase the peril of finding the illithid in the astral plane, you can have a psychic wind scour the surface, which I do like. That's all kinds of crazy shit that can happen. You've already got your table built in, which is fantastic. Another table of fuck you abilities. It's actually a peninsula, thank you. It's been Monster Island. Okay, so we definitely want to have a pair of these guys. Plus Tharsorelli, which is where... Is this one of a token page? Token page. So I wonder if I should have anybody show up at the end. The only one I could think of that would make sense might be the Merid. Or the Aboleth could technically show up, but he seems like more of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. There's Tharsarelli. The Mind Flayer with a giant sword. Finally found the last attendant. See, I'm worried this map's not big enough now that I'm looking at it. It's going to be fucking crowded as shit. Although, also, if people can just fly, then I guess it doesn't matter. Everybody's like hovering and moving around. I know we did. I mentioned that Sylvan Fox when we started this campaign. I was like, the only bummer is that the end boss is basically an Elder Brain, and we kind of did that before. But I think the context is at least different enough here. The chicken appears. This is like the military one, which is good because that makes him easier to run. Got a Mind Blade, does a bunch of damage, and then he can also use his tentacles to stun people. So in that case, maybe two more Mind Flare. Am I getting too crazy here at the end? And we'll probably reduce him at least to 200 hit points, maybe even lower than that. I might lower the hit points of a lot of these because the players should be pretty fucked up. The other question is, do we want the players? If you have your sucked into the astral sea idea, does that mean the players don't even get a chance to short rest between fights? Because that would also make things a lot more difficult for the party. Don't even get a chance to short rest between. I was planning on giving them a breather. Basically, my idea was just to have the brain teleport away, have Slarkarthel temporarily incapacitated, then have this big dramatic moment where like the Tritons are like, all right, now we can finish off the Kraken, and then Vestris will be like, no, you guys got to go after the colony of Zelix 4. They could return one day. And I can open a portal to send you there, and basically just allow a social scene first. But it might slow things down as the party wants to take a long time at that social scene and really work out the consequences and repercussions of everything they do, and that would probably determine the final battle too. So I would have to set up. I would just use the same map and just run Slarkarthel as a straight up stat block, but he would not have any of his legendary resistances, and he would be probably somewhat wounded, and possibly allow them to kill the Kraken, or they teleport to here and have their second stage boss fight. I'd say rest to travel to find the brain. Well, I don't want to give too much time in between. Like my goal was just to be like, all right, you have this social moment after the brain teleports away. The party can get their 5-minute short rest, which we've established is pretty easy, because I'm totally fine with them getting the short rest in between. Kind of while they're basically having this moment, and then once they decide on what to do, then they can go with one fight or the other, I guess. It's weird we didn't really get a chance to run in a campaign about Mind Flayers is the Intellect Devourers. I'm not sure I ever actually used one. Alright, so I'm possibly putting a lot of things in this area. But that's might be what it looks like. And then have the party, like, I don't know, portal in a corner or something and just start a boss fight. Like, so there's not going to be any exploration, nothing like that. It's just going to be straight up second stage boss fight. End of campaign, no need to agree with the party. Escape plan ensues. Take Slarkarthel with them. That's true. So that's another moment we can have also if we allow for a little bit more time between the fights, is allow a chance for Toril to actually commune with Slarkarthel, maybe have some kind of cool moment where Slarkarthel has to like drain some of Toril's health or something, but in return like supercharges him, gives him like the foresight ability or something, cast foresight on him, I guess. And then yeah, maybe they get maybe give them, or maybe just give Toril specifically Slarkarthel's legendary actions. So they've got like the tentacles coming through the portal and stuff to be able to try to fight back against these creatures, which might make this fight go over real fucking quick, but that's okay. Take Slarkarthel with them in the sea. Too weak to fight with them. Give Toril tentacle legs, so they must finish the fight. Gun loading sound. I don't know if I want to take all of Slarkarthel through the portal. I'm thinking maybe literally it had, you know, that scene from the first Hellboy movie where the giant tentacles like coming through the portal from above, like he's halfway through the ritual or something. So I'm like picturing that with like Slarkarthel's like massive tentacles just like spilling through the portal behind the party. So like it's like a reversing basically. You always see like that shit from a bad point of view, but now the players get to like walk out of the portal and then have the tentacles come out as like backup for them. And then I assume, you know, you can still have Slarkarthel use as lightning bolts through the portal and all that stuff. So that's a way of just allowing Slarkarthel to use the legendary actions against the monsters in this fight. Which maybe if we're going to do that, then we can increase this fight by another factor because they've got the legendary actions of Slarkarthel to back them up, and they can do like that. What is that? 6d10 lightning damage to a creature. Maybe just give them like one legendary action around instead of like 3 or 4 also. But I think that would still be pretty like treat it as like their like layer action thing they can do. Or treat it as just something that Toril can do on his turn, because Toril's in fact, it would probably be Toril, because Toril's the one that's got the connection, and I would force him to, like I said, maybe drain some health to, like, he has to basically give some risk to get some big reward for doing that. So I think it's still worth doing for the story moments, even if I don't think mechanically it's terribly interesting to fight an Elder Brain again, because if you recall the last one that the players fought, I had to modify the shit out of that Elder Brain to make it work. I guess I could do that again here, because I'm still not a big fan of the way the Psychic Link stuff works. And I don't find it terribly compelling. I also hate how all these creatures rely on Mind Blast to do anything, and I think Stunning Party is fine once in a while, but repeatedly in the same fight, it's just sucks. And it's not something I want to do too much of, so we might have to switcheroo the Elder Brain stat block again. You know, give it some like psychic spells, I think is what I did last time. Kind of give it the equivalent of like Mind Sliver and I don't know, Crown of Madness or Confusion. And like I just mentioned how I wish creatures had things instead of spells, but like this guy's things suck. So I have to give it like spell-like effects, I guess. Although breaking concentration, I mean, I could just make these part of its regular actions, just jack up its attacks, I guess. It's like everybody's taking psychic damage, giving out debuffs, and then, yeah, making people burn their concentration and taking damage and stuff. So maybe look at that for things that it can do, I guess. But yeah, we are, ideally, I would try and get through this whole first battle here this Friday, which is going to be a big one. So I hope I've got enough creatures here. If the party starts just blasting through these guys really quick, I will spawn more. What I don't have are little 1 hit point I mean, I could use them, I guess, in mass, but I don't know. It seems like it'd be more tedious than it's worth necessarily. For just having the Marrow show up and just harpoon people. Or Deep Scion doing what they're doing. I still need to roll hit points for everybody and give them numbers and stuff, because I'm still trying to decide on how many I want to use. But like I said, I've got 6 Marrow, 2 Deep Scions, 2 Kraken Priests, and 1 Swagan Baron Mutant Thrall right now in front, between the party and Slarkathel, which is pretty important to note. Like, the Tritons have drawn some of the enemies to their side. I've got several over here, but these are the ones that are just kind of like massing in this area and happen to be in between the party and Slarkathel. So they'll have to really fight their way through these minions while Slarkathel's doing all of his devastating stuff as well. Boy, this has been a really good crafting, and we'll do this again on Thursday. How about? But I think this is all the time we have for the Monday edition of Crafting the Day. If you enjoy the content, as always, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to plenty of patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brandon, Genocide, Eclectic, Roleplay, Roll, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Nathan, Kirk, Chris, Counselor, Andrew, Stephanie, Jason, Lovey's Buzz, Ward, Hail, Dino, LC, Tom, and the Dogs, Caleb, Marcus, Snuggy, Hugo, and Ian, Gold patrons, RPG, Paper Crabs, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Dunzed, Lounge, Jerome, Nathan, Vasca, Tortoise, Scott, Ruffus, Jerry, Glenn, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you for some more crafting, as I just said, on Thursday.